Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's Friday, the 24th of October 2025, and the time is 1:33 p.m. So another lovely hot day. I got up very late. I slept in till 10:30 this morning. It's because I didn't sleep much the night before, and I worked like a Trojan yesterday on my opals and then spinning wool till late into the night, and keeping my brain stimulated by listening and watching podcasts, and of course making my daily video reading stories to you wonderful people of YouTube. And I must have worn myself out. But sleep is good. I woke up at 10:30 and my mind was fresh. I felt powerful, I felt gifted, I felt quite wonderful for about 5 minutes. So anyway, my mind's very clear today. Not so clear that you could strike a match off it. There's still a little bit of woolliness just at the edges, but pretty good, and my body's well rested. And I hit the ground running when I woke up because I received a message for a reminder for my appointment with the anaesthetist for the Botox treatment. So I had to hit the ground running and inform the mater that I'm cancelling all of that procedure and therefore cancelling the anaesthetist. And they were lovely about it, very very professional, and I quite like the mater now actually compared to the other systemic abusive hospitals. They're very very professional and kind of a bit gentle with me, which is lovely. But yes, I've decided I still had to get up during the night, but only once, and that's a good night if I only get up once. So I've decided I can handle getting up once a night. It's when it devolves into 20 times a night that I start literally losing control over my body, mind and spirit. But I've decided to just soldier on as per normal, and I'm not keen on ingesting any more poisons, even if they might have fixed the problem, which my urologist was quite certain it would. But it's not that, it's the knock-on effect of needing to be anaesthetised every 6 months to 12 months and having constant invasions of my core. I don't welcome it. And at 60 years of age, I figure I've done well to get to this age, and just going to carry on nurturing my body, mind and spirit holistically, and try and remain chemical free as much as possible, given we're already overloaded, most human beings now on this planet, after years of the plastics and oil and gas industry and all the other shenanigans that have gone on historically in the last century. We're already overloaded with toxins, so I've decided to draw a line in the sand. Enough is enough. And maybe I'm wrong to do so, but maybe I'm right to follow my own intuition and instincts about what the body of Tanya Desiree Aarons says it wants. So right now we're sitting in the shade, of the bird cages actually. It's the only bit of solid shade there was. And I've only just put them out before I began this video talking to you. So Kermie's very happy. He's got I'll show you. He's got a piece of mandarin in his talons, and little Beau's watching over here, and they're very happy too. And it's actually lovely out in the garden. It's a little bit of a slight breeze, which is a bit refreshing. So let us continue on with reading Elliot Perlman's 7 types of ambiguity. I've drunk all my tea, damn it. Well, it is what it is, people of Earth. We're up to chapter 7 of part 3. Just if you have a copy of your own book and you want to follow along, or you just want to know where we're up to, just keeping the slipstream dreaming in perfect equilibrium and process, babies. Maintaining professionalism. Chapter 7. You're really enjoying that piece of mandarin, my boy? He's flinging it everywhere. Oh well, he dropped it. He's a happy boy. Chapter 7. I had never met anyone like him before. He was sincere, passionate, intelligent, and yet humble. He wasn't intellectual, but he didn't think that made him better than anyone else. Quite the contrary. I still haven't met anyone remotely like him, with the possible exception of Alex, but he is more formal, in a European sort of way, less relaxed, and, anyway, he is almost old enough to be my father. The way Simon spoke, what he said, the way the words sounded when shaped by his voice, made me feel as though I had spent all my life till then in a deep sleep, a sleep interrupted occasionally by a nightmare. His honesty about himself was breathtaking, especially later when he talked about his unemployment, about his drinking, and about what he called his failure as a man, his failure to approximate his idea of a man. Despite being a little drunk, this gifted and eloquent man seemed so sane. He seemed so fair. As we talked and walked arm in arm after a while, more for comfort and support than for any kind of titillation, I waited for him to talk down to me, not by way of condescension, but because he had thought so much more about things, important things. He had read so much more than me. He knew so much more than me. I waited for it, but it never happened. If anything, he became more self-deprecating with every hour. He talked about William, his father, and how he had accused him of being depressed. He stressed that coming from William, this was an accusation. For William, being depressed was, being bitten by those bloody ants again. For William, being depressed was egocentric, self-indulgent, weak, and most importantly, it was spiteful. I listened to everything he said and wondered what good deed, what kindness I had performed that God or fate or whoever controls these things had led Simon to choose me, to put his arm around, to talk to listen to, without expecting anything in return. I can imagine how lovely that would feel when you're a sex worker and all you ever treated like is a body to be pumped and dumped for a fee. Even worse, when you're sexually active and you're treated like a body to be pumped and dumped for free. Well, we mustn't think dark thoughts. We must be happy that here is an example of when two people find each other and there's genuine love and witnessing and respect and honouring going on. That, my friends, is the highest order of love there is. You asked me if I wanted a date. It had been a long time since anyone had asked me out, he told me much later. Even in bad times, in the moments of decline, as Alex describes them, when I have had to throw the covers off his bed, shower him, and then walk him and Empson, he never turned on me. He was always gentle with me. He only ever attacked himself. I want to cry. Until now, he says that I've done it to myself, and though I don't think I have, Callie has to wake me up at night when I cry out. I am lost now. We had been together for hours, walking, talking, drinking, eating and sitting for long periods not talking, just looking at the sky. I didn't know how the night was going to end. I hoped that it wouldn't end. I was scared I hadn't done or said the right things, the things that would make him want to see me again. Although I had never experienced anything like that night, what was special about it? What was always special about us as a couple was him. It was a fairy tale night that I was afraid would end when he kissed me and turned me back into a whore he had met on a street corner. The streets had not changed in those last few hours. They were wild with the noise, the mess, and the shove of unregulated street commerce. The gawking tourists, the crowded ice cream shops and bistros, the hookers, the young men wearing back-to-front baseball caps, their families only recently arrived from the Middle East or Eastern Europe, in their family sedans with the thud, thud, thud of African-American music flattening the ground beneath them. They were all still there. The difference was that now I could observe it without being part of it. "Take it easy, bitch," I heard one call out, but it was not to me because I was with Simon and our body language suggested we were a couple, not a whore and a lonely guy. We too often laughed at the same time to be a whore and a lonely guy. Laughter protected us from what other people were doing to each other. It protected us from everything except Simon's parents. What's the matter, Kermie boy? Where's my little bow? You sitting up there being a good little birdie? I know, I love you too. Pretty boys. Sorry, lost my spot momentarily. Where were we up to? I'm sure the last word I said was silence, and now I can't find it. Right, Mama T starting to lose her mind, but not I'll extricate it capriciously back from the void. Bing! Like an elastic rubber band pulled too taut, spiralling out into infinity. People of Earth. Right. Laughter protected us from what other people were doing to each other. It protected us from everything except Simon's parents. We were laughing when we met them, coming out of a restaurant with another couple. Simon changed instantly. He stiffened in an attempt to hide how much he had drunk. Everyone was embarrassed. The way I was dressed did not help. There were some perfunctory introductions, and that's when, for the first time, I went from Angela to Angelique. I did it myself, capriciously. Angelique, is it? Said the older man, who wasn't Simon's father. We've just had a lovely meal here to celebrate William's retirement. Have you ever eaten here? You should, if you live in the neighbourhood. You're absolutely right. The food is great. I often eat here. The owner is a regular client of mine. Henry, let's go, the man's wife said, grabbing him by the arm. It's all right, Dad. We're leaving, Simon said from the curb, trying to hail a taxi. What did you want a taxi for? I asked him later when we were back at his flat. I wanted the two groups of people to be separated as soon as possible, and you can never hail a helicopter in Fitzroy Street at that time on a Friday night. Were you ashamed to be seen with me, a prostitute? I didn't think you really were a prostitute. Were you ashamed to be seen with me anyway? No, I was ashamed long before I met you. His flat was a sea of books and newspapers, magazines, photos from his past, CDs and video cassettes, onto which he told me he had recorded years of movies and documentaries. It was quite a collection, an archive of a world still foreign to me. Then there was the cuddly Empson. The dog had Simon's often sad eyes, but he was easier to amuse than his owner. When Simon took him outside for a pee, I looked inside the pantry in the kitchen. All it contained was tea, coffee, cereal, scotch, canned soup, 2-minute noodles, and dog food. The fridge was empty except for milk, beer, and some sad fruit. I felt immediately comfortable there, at home. It needed a woman's touch to brighten the place up a little, but it felt like a sanctuary. By the time Simon had brought Empson back in, I had made us both a cup of tea. It was very late, but I told him all about my life in Adelaide, about my dancing, my brothers and my parents. I told him about our house, how it looked onto the prison for young ladies that was my school, about Suramia and the other girls, about my father, and about university. I told him about Ramesh, about the abortion, and about coming to Melbourne. I told him about the habitués of the city's nightclubs and about Steve. But I didn't tell him about the rape. Shortly after 4 in the morning, after we had finished watching a videotape of Simon's about a revolt on some Russian battleship, I worked up the courage to ask him about the woman in the photos. I hoped, without much confidence, that he would tell me it was a sister or a cousin or something, but of course it wasn't. It was Anna, the great Anna. He was a little tentative talking about her at first, more tentative than he had been talking about anything else. But then he began to warm to his subject, a little too much. I already had the picture. I understood how important she had been to him, and when he paused for breath, or else because the gravity of the subject demanded it, I leant over and kissed him. We made love slowly and quietly on his couch. Then, as we were falling asleep, he took me to his bed where we slept for hours. The next morning, or rather, it was early afternoon, I woke with a start and realised that my suitcase and all my belongings was back in the motel in Carlisle Street, and that not only had I missed checkout time, but I didn't have the money to pay for even the night I had just spent at Simon's place, let alone the nights to come. He was in the kitchen feeding Empson when I came upon him with my problem. It's no problem, unless of course someone has stolen your suitcase. Drink your tea and then go and pay them. You'll get your suitcase out. Are you kicking me out? Well, no, I'm not, but what did you have in mind? He asked me. I don't know. I just thought, after everything that happened last night. And anyway, I don't have the money to pay for the room. Yes, you do, he said, pointing to my handbag. I didn't remember leaving it there. He must have brought it in from the living room. What are you talking about? What's this? I said, holding $250 he had put in there. What the hell is this? I asked him. It's money, Angela. What do you think it is? I know it's money, Simon. Why the hell are you giving it to me? Calm down, will you? I've made you a cup of tea. My kind of man who knows how to make a cup of tea. Unlike one errant lover I met once who was young and Finnish and terrible lover, and on top of it did not know how to make a cup of tea. I was livid. So livid. I walked out barefoot, walking all through St. Lucia, rang Jared, come and rescue me, Jared. I've never asked Jared to rescue me from a encounter in my life, and I was so embarrassed and so ashamed, but I went into a kind of a fugue state because never have I been so insulted in all my life as that creature who hadn't bothered in all his life of manhood to even learn how to make a fucking cup of tea. Like, say what? See, it's the little things that count, the details. Anyway, he was one of the last of my paramours before I gave up on sex completely 10 years ago. Useless. That's all I seemed to attract in those days. Useless, feckless, using parasitical men that barely deserved the noma of man. Kermie's swinging and looking at me. But I'm a man, Mama T. You're a little rooster, a little Indian ringnet rooster, a little cock on a swing, swinging happily and innocently, how it should be, boys and girls of planet Earth. Yes, it's why I live this way. Asexual celibate, keep myself pristine and away from fucking useless, awful, predatory assholes, of which I encounter many out when I'm out in the music scene dancing, which is why I had to institute the fuck off motto every single time nearly, and why I like to dance as close to the band as possible, because at least I know them, and some of them are my friends. Well, I'd like to believe that some of them are my friends. Maybe I'm deluded about that too, people of Earth. But anyway, there's a certain level of safety dancing right in front of the band, and me doing my crazy mama tea performance art and not engaging with, you know, most people that come to clubs and pubs and try to make nuisances of themselves. I mean, occasionally you meet quite wonderful and lovely men, but generally in the past few years they've all been far too young for me, or married, or living with a woman, so not available. And there's a reason for that too, that's all I'm attracting, because it keeps me safe too from more awfulness like I used to experience up until, 2015, which drove me to the point of suicide actually. That's how awful it really was. But anyway, 10 years later and I'm 60 years old, and Mama T's holding her own on planet Earth, and maybe it's because of the 30 years of therapy, or maybe it's just because I've grown older, I don't know. But it is what it is, people of Earth. So he's made her a cup of tea. I don't want your fucking cup of tea. I don't want anything from you. Look, last night I wasn't your whore, you know. Will you calm down? What the hell do you think? Please sit down. Let me explain, he said. I know what you think. And, Angela, please, here is what I think, okay? I think that last night was a wonderful night. I think that you were virtually penniless, and that all your earthly goods, or at least everything you own in this part of the earth, is currently in the care and custody of the proprietors of one of the sleaziest motels in town. I think that you owe those proprietors money, and I think you have the best chance of getting your suitcase back if you pay them as soon as possible. This is the best and quickest way of getting your suitcase back, he said, pointing to the money. So the money? Is it a loan? I asked him tentatively, wanting more than anything for the answer to be yes. No, it's not a loan. Why not? Because I don't want it back. Why the hell don't you want it back? Look, Angela, Angelique, Angel, I've just paid my rent for the next month. I need much more money than that $100 to make the slightest bit of difference to my life. You, on the other hand, are about $100 between vagrancy and whatever else the rest of your life holds. It's worth a great deal more to you. You should have it. You would have earned much more than that last night had I not kidnapped you for a cameo role in the endless desperate self-indulgence that is currently my life. I owe you more than that in boredom money alone. Call it a disappointment fee. You had certain financial goals last night, which were thwarted entirely by me. But every minute you wait, your tea grows colder, and the chance of you getting your suitcase gets smaller. Where will I go? What do you mean? Don't you know the way from here? Simon, where will I go when I have my suitcase? Well, he said, I was expecting that you'd come back here. You don't have to, but I didn't think you had anywhere else to go. Try not to be too long though. I really owe Empson a walk. I must say, what a beautiful man. Take a stray woman literally off the streets plying her trade, give her the most romantic and comforting and kind night of her entire life, and then pays for her motel or hotel and offers her free accommodation for a while without strings or asking for anything in return yet. Well, sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? That's how life is, often too good to be true. Feeding a woman false hope and letting her think she's really loved and then ripping it away from her. The most profound evil on this planet. Ask me how I know. It is difficult to describe my relief on hearing that. I felt that things might be starting to work out for me, just a little. My suitcase was behind the desk at reception, and when I gave them the money I owed, no questions were asked. Money has that effect. When I got back, Simon and I had breakfast, showered and took Empson for a walk. It was during that walk that Simon made the first of his many pleas for me not to work as a prostitute. I told him that I would only do it until I had enough money to get a little settled. Of course, aiming to get a little settled graduated into aiming to get a car, to put a deposit on a place, and ultimately to start a business of my own. The irony is that now, just when I'm being forced to stop, he goes and shuts me out of his life completely. Chapter 8. Simon begged me not to work the streets. It was, he said, in addition to being very dangerous, also illegal. Brothels and escort agencies are legal in the state of Victoria. I hadn't known that. I looked through the yellow pages and phoned some places that charged $300, $500, and even $1,000 an hour. That was what I wanted. If I was going to do it, why not do it for $1,000 an hour? Simon said I could stay with him for a few days, which became almost 3 weeks. In those 3 weeks, I met Kelly. Simon started seeing Alex Klima, and I started earning real money. Isn't that interesting? He takes a prostitute in off the street, gives her a home for 3 weeks, and in that time period starts seeing a therapist. Interesting timing. But bully for her for earning real money, plying her trade and getting herself into a better place, as there are some venal monsters out there. And he's right, she wasn't safe working the streets the way she was. Anyway, what is safety? It's a sliding scale depending on your class or your circumstances or the people you associate with, and whether they have your back, your front and your sides. And what is safety? It's illusionary, sometimes delusional at times, like when I thought I was safe being a respectable, progressive Jewish wife and mother. Well, that was not safe at all, not with my family of origin and my former husband and all the creeps he associated with, by the gods. except for one friend. He had a very nice friend who came and played guitar for me and sang Lucky Lips and took his teeth out to do so with his toothless, rubbery, singing that song. It was the most delightful song anyone had ever sung to me in my life, done so masterfully. And I think it was on the occasion of my birthday one year. Anyway, I laughed and laughed and laughed, and his name was John, and he and his wife were New Zealanders also, and they were very lovely people. That was one of the few friends or associates of my former husband that I genuinely liked and were down to earth and kind to me. Anyway, it is what it is, people of earth. Are you pulling out your feathers, you little varmint? Don't turn into Charlie. She pulled out all her feathers too. When Mummy gets her money, she's going to buy you some more toys to switch around with and give you more stimulation. Stimulation, little Kermie. Intellectual stimulation of the birdie num-num kind. Got to keep their brains stimulated. But he likes his big wooden swing now. He was terrified of it for 3 weeks. Now he sits on it like a boss. You want to see him sitting on it like a boss? This is the Kermie, the boss of the house. Actually, the boss is little Bo. Little Bo here. Say hello to the people, little Bo. You're very quiet, listening to me speaking and reading to you. Very quiet, boys. My handsome boys. Yes, you are. Right, now, where were we? The first place I called was the $1,000 an hour escort agency. I had a lot of embarrassing misconceptions about the whole industry. Embarrassing to me now. I expected to find a sun-tanning bed, manicurists, a team of people to set you up and do your hair and makeup so that you could go to expensive bookings looking like you were some kind of model. But it wasn't like that at all. If you wanted to look that good, you had to do it yourself. I had expected it to be a team effort. I thought they would have standards, a reputation to protect. They didn't have very much to protect at all. I sat in the waiting room as the other girls came and went. Many of them knew each other. I just sat there. I was scared every time the phone rang. It wasn't that the manager was favouring the other girls. It was that they kept trying to send me to $200 bookings, and I was holding out for at least a $500 booking. I didn't really know if I was going to be able to go through with it, or if I could do it once, whether I was going to be able to do it again. If nothing else, I wanted to come away from the night with a clear $250 after the agency's cut. I hadn't taken into account the driver's cut. Finally, they're like verminous fleas, aren't they, feeding off you like carrion? Like, they're doing all the sexual work, sex work, and they're just bled and fed from. I guess it's like that in life for any woman. Just feasted on. No matter how hard you try to avoid it, it's always there. The feasting. That's why I make them fucking starve now. But they still steal my energy when I'm dancing wildly in my wild motion, or I'm gifting it till I bring them to the boil, to the brink of catharsis. What did he say that time at the Fitzy's? Oh, we love it when you dance for us, Tanya. Tash nearly punched him out. I saw the look in her eyes. Oh yes, you love the fresh, the animalistic energy feeding. But anyway, I didn't really mind. I enjoy the dancing, and I enjoy the music, and I'm receiving, downloads and spirit messages sometimes when I work myself into that heightened cathartic state too. So it's a win-win situation actually, unless certain men get too carried away with it and think they fucking own me. No man owns me. None. Anyway, where was I? I'm thinking about dancing tonight. Can you tell? Mama T must dance. I haven't been out dancing for weeks, and it'll be good for me. And I'm looking forward to it actually. My classic defiance against atrophies of piss-weak, vicious men who try to drive me away and stop me from enjoying my life. No one has the right to do that to anyone, any woman, man or child. Don't drive people away. You don't like them? Fine. Stay in your lane. Leave them the fuck alone. But don't actively drive people away. That's nasty. Right, where was I? Finally, after sitting in the waiting room for 4 hours, looking at a TV screen, trying to pretend I wasn't nervous, the manager came up to me. We've just got a $500 booking to a hotel in St Kilda Road. Will you take this one? She spoke to me as though I was a little princess, too precious, not really interested in working. It was time for me to put my money where my mouth was, or some permutation thereof. I said I'd take it. My stomach was churning. I trembled a little in the back seat of the car on the way there. There was a part of me that couldn't believe I was actually going through with it. And it is possible I would have had cold feet had it not been for Kelly. It was a 2-girl booking, and we met in the foyer of the hotel. My first thought on seeing her, as though it mattered, was that she was prettier than me. She was certainly much more relaxed. We introduced ourselves. For some reason, I was even nervous talking to her. She commented that she hadn't seen me before at the agency. I was tossing up whether or not to tell her that I hadn't ever done this before when she said, "You're new at this, aren't you?" "First time," I conceded. "First time? Okay, let's have a drink before we go up." Kelly was great, really comforting. She need not have been. It can be a very catty industry. She took me to the bar and bought me a glass of champagne. I was dressed in a very conservative blue dress, not very hookerish at all. It was a dress that one might normally wear to the theatre or something like that. Kelly later said it was a mistake to show no cleavage and to cover the knees. I looked shy rather than wanton. It mattered less than I could have imagined. She told me to relax. She would look after me. Then she bought me another glass of champagne. "This would be fine," she said. "No problems at all." I asked her how she knew, and she said, "Oh, it's 2 Chinese guys." "Why is that good?" "They'll be clean, polite, and perhaps not so fluent in English, so you won't have to talk much. And they'll be small." Small? Dicks won't hurt. Women are generally 5.5 inches deep, you know. Anything bigger than that on a man, if it's used badly can really hurt, especially on some young rammer who's really proud of his equipment. These guys, Chinese business types, possibly shy, they'll be easy, they'll swim in you. It's money for jam. Small? What about those sumo guys? The really fat ones? I asked. Sumo wrestlers? That's Japanese. And anyway, there's one part of their bodies they can't beef up. Either they've got it or they haven't. And believe me, Asian guys haven't. No, trust me, honey. Asians, especially Chinese, that's really good. They all look the same, so it's hard to get an ugly one. Sorry, this sounds so racist. I don't necessarily align with any of the comments in this book, just saying. And when I do, you know, because I'll throw in my 6 cents worth, but that's kind of awful. But anyway, carry on. I'll do the talking. Tell them you're the new girl. They'll treat you well. Why? A new girl, she's almost a virgin. She's special. They'll feel lucky, like all their new years have come at once, and they'll be gentler with you. We often tell guys it's our first time. Everybody's happier. I don't get it, I told her. She explained. It's like they'll feel special being your first ever client, and they'll want you to think well of them. You can use that. But it is my first time. Then it is special. It's the last time that will ever be true. You could see that I was still scared, and she took my hand. Honey, if you get in there and you don't want to do it, you can call me. Here's my mobile number, she said, copying it down and putting it in my bag. I'm trying to work out how that works, because aren't they going to be in there together? Like, can't she just give her a hand signal or something? It's like, how can she phone her when they're both trying to fuck 2 guys at the same time? Oh, I guess that's me being naive and a bit innocent. Which at 60, believe it or not, is a good thing. Oh, you have to laugh. We went up together. I stood beside her as she knocked on the door. When it opened, Kelly did the talking. She explained in a friendly but firmly patronising way to the 2 men in their late 30s or early 40s that we were there to show them a good time. But first, we needed to get the matter of money out of the way. The man who had opened the door pulled a credit card out of his wallet. I stood there nervously trying to avoid contact with the other one, the one I just assumed was mine. Neither of us was comfortable doing the talking. This was something we had in common. You're so quiet, my little baby boys. We love it when you read to us, Mama D. I'm sure they do. Kelly took the other man's credit card and phoned the details through to the agency. As she waited for the agency to complete the transaction, she must have seen me looking like a little girl on her first day of school. That was how I felt. I wanted to go over to her side of the room and stand behind her as she spoke on the phone. Kelly discerned my discomfort and turned it to advantage by announcing rather loudly, their broken English being to her indicative of deafness, "It's her first time, you know. You work out between you who wants me and who wants the new girl." After a minute or two that took forever, Kelly signified the payment had been accepted. It was really going to happen. I tried telling myself that I had a job to do and that it had to be done before I could go home. I just had to say a few things, not many, do a few things, and permit still other things to be done to me. The voice inside me shouted at me not to be afraid. If I wanted the money, I had to do whatever it took. That was my plan. The words came into my head, screaming to the exclusion of any other thoughts. Just do it. How strange were the fruits of the children working in the factories of Asia, Simon mused when I subsequently told him. Also a bit kind of racist, I suppose. How strange are the fruits of any parents that are working class or enslaved or just trying to get through life like every other human on this swirling blue marble. There was an urgency to that instruction. It had no time for second thought, no stomach for anticipation, and no mind for wisdom. Ultimately, I could not be responsible for what I was about to do. I would only be following orders. My blood just runs cold whenever I hear that sentence. There is a history, darlings. We all know how that ended up for the world, don't we? By the gods. Little Bo's having a drink. Having a drinky poo, Bo. Is that good? Yes. Right. Got the turkey here. I had a visit from the kookaburra too this morning. Well, just before I set the birdie boys up. He was looking at me. I think he was hoping for some chicken, but I've only got some frozen cooked chicken in the freezer. I probably should defrost it and give it to him. He's kind of giving me a hint that he could do with a bit of something snacky. He's a lovely bird, but I don't like to feed them too often because, you know, they're wild birds and they've got to fend for themselves. And so there is that. Hello, turkey. He's walking right up to me. He asked for water yesterday, just kept pacing backwards and forwards. So I gave him a bowl of water and he was really grateful and happy for that. Lovely bird. You should see his mound. It's growing exponentially each day. Kelly left with the holder of the credit card and I was alone with my client. As I sat down on the bed, he took a bottle of champagne out of the bar fridge, opened it, and poured me a glass. Then he told me that he was going to take a shower. He seemed pleasant enough, certainly not unpleasant. His shower and drying time was 30 minutes. I timed him because it was a 1-hour booking, and I couldn't believe how long he was taking. It occurs to me now that perhaps he was masturbating in the shower to lengthen his performance with me. Men sometimes try things like that. It's something Joe Geraghty told me. I was concerned that this guy might dispute the time. He came out of the bathroom in a dry towel. I didn't know what to do, how to start, but he had clearly done this many times before. He lay naked, face down on the bed. For a moment, I just looked at him. He was the first Chinese man I had ever seen naked. Then I started to massage him, and once I'd started the massage, everything was okay. I relaxed. He seemed to be enjoying the massage, and I just went into boyfriend mode. You learn early from experience that a boyfriend will often want sex when you don't. And it doesn't even take a boyfriend. It can be someone you met in a bar or at a party, the territory of the one-night stand. You want to meet new people, to be admired. You feel relaxed after a few drinks. Then you suddenly find yourself somewhere thinking, I don't really want to go through with this, not anymore. But it's easier to go through with it than to back out. So you go through the motions. You pay lip service to the act. You don't need to be a prostitute for this to happen. Indeed, you bloody well don't, my darlings. The only difference is that we take money for it up front. If everyone knew how easy it really is, after the first couple of times anyway, we'd earn less than waitresses. I put a condom on him and he took 5 minutes. I timed that too. He turned over and I gave him another massage. He barely spoke. It was a great introduction. If only they were all like that. He didn't even try to kiss me or bargain for any extras. We call them extras, whatever else they can think of. When we quote, what we are really quoting for is basic or straight sex. We charge more for any fetish or aberration. Wait a minute, people of Earth. Here we are, back in the room. We fell over. Oops. Right. But you soon learn that sexual aberration is largely a myth, or rather, a misnomer. It is normal sex that is a myth. Aberration is the norm. The fetishes, the games, the role play, costumes and equipment, they are so common. If every woman knew that, we would certainly earn less than waitresses. Alex says a man's fetish begins at a moment of conjoined anxiety and stimulation when, for some reason, the man is made to feel that if he expresses his sexuality at that precise moment, he will be breaking some rule and love will be withheld from him. He says fetishes are about the search for love. I'm not sure about this. I'm sure that I could have earned considerably more if I'd been more willing to help them revisit their moments of conjoined anxiety and stimulation, but as much as I've wanted to make money, the extras can play games with your mind. Kelly is stronger than me. Simon thought I was mentally strong, stronger than him, but he never really knew Kelly. She's the strong one. He was constantly amazed that I would walk out of a place and wipe the booking from my mind, nor could he understand how I could leave the safety of the brothel to do escort work. He thought, like most people, that the kind of work I was doing was likely, sooner or later, to lead me through alienation and depersonalization to a sense of what he called agonizing aloneness and despair. But he was quite wrong. I got there through love. Kelly introduced me to the brothel where she worked most of the time. She said that the management there looked after their girls better than they had to. She was right. They have looked after me well. They've helped me get well-paid escort work when I've wanted it, though they try to discourage their career girls from escorting because they say it's more dangerous, wears you out, and is usually the refuge of girls who wouldn't be able to attract bookings from men who have a choice of women they can see. Fran, the manager, said a girl as pretty as me didn't need to take the risks inherent in escorting, but that she would get the work for me if I really wanted it. Kelly was pretty enough not to have to escort, but because she was obsessed with making money, she did it on the side. She freelanced with the other agency, the one I had picked out of the phone book. She chose them in order not to alienate Fran. Somehow, I think Fran knew about it. This was the beginning of a time that Alex calls my golden age. I was earning good money for the first time ever. Kelly had taken me under her wing and was showing me the ropes. We hit it off almost immediately. I felt that I could trust her, and she obviously felt the same way because she invited me to live with her. We found a 2-bedroom place to rent with security doors, high ceilings and French windows, looking onto a little courtyard where we would often sit and have coffee. I got a little car and a little self-esteem. And then there was Simon. He was always trying to give me money, even though within a week or two of starting work, I had more money than he had. He had hardly any, but he would take me out to second-hand books and buy me the books he thought I should have. What a lovely man. I love a man who buys me books. I love a man who buys me anything without agendas or demands or expectations. Good, kind, generous men, especially intelligent men that share their love of books. Where could I find one like that, people of Earth? Poetry particularly excited him. He said that if you had books, you need never be alone. That's true. But of course, during that time, during the golden age, I never was alone. I bought him food and I cooked for him. We went for walks with Alex and Empson, went out for coffee, for drinks. I read many of the books he fed me, and he was right. When the words dance privately for you, it is possible to feel not alone. I didn't pretend to understand all the words, but Simon explained how they wait for you inside the covers, how they wait for you to need them. I know, since Alex brings Simon's books to him, that he is using them now. But it seems my best words have been spent. The only words I have left are not able to describe what has happened to me, to us. Just see how long the next chapter is. Okay, we'll break up here, and I may come back with another chapter later on. I may not. I may be back tomorrow. People of Earth. The Mama T doesn't make promises she can't keep, so I think that's probably it for today. I need to rest and recuperate and breathe and relax and get ready for my wild dance this evening, which, yes, is an art form in itself. So, good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. Bye for now.